Hello everyone, welcome back to Red Path. Today, I'm here with Dara, and we are going to talk about our favourite warlord traits and relics. So we'll see you here in a bit. Alright, welcome back. So, yes, we are still in full-on hype mode with the new Chaos Space Marine Codex, and the amount of research and number crunching that we've been putting in, and people in the Discord have been putting in and stuff to just find the craziest, most fun, powerful kind of lists and units we can get. It's amazing. It's just so much fun. Like, I'm having the time of my life writing lists right now, mate. How about you?
100%, man. Every day I wake up and I'm like, yeah, but I could try that.
Yes.
Like, I woke up on like Saturday morning. I was like, but what about predators?
Yes.
I spent the whole day being like, but what about them? I was like standing in front of my shelf where like all my world leaders are on display, and I was just looking at my nice Deimos predators, and I was like, I love you. And I love you more now. And then I watched that. It was a game on Tabletop Tactics where they were running two predators with the soul shatters.
Okay.
And I was like, now that I've seen them on the table, I'm like, I love you even more.
Yeah.
So it's like every day I'm like, all right, what's new? What's cooking?
Mm-hmm.
This thing's cool.
So
yeah, it's pretty hype.
So much stuff to build and play with and experiment with, and I love this part of the journey, quite frankly, because it's like every day someone's going to suggest something new and amazing, and we're just going to, what the hell? What kind of drugs are you on to think of this kind of thing? Because I want some. But all right, so let's dive in. We'll start off, we're both going to give our favourite relics, and then we're going to talk about our favourite warlord traits, probably do a bit of an honourable mention at the end, just depending on what we've both picked. So, Dara, mate, take us off. Tell us your number one relic that you feel is as close to an auto take. If you could only take one, what would be the one you took?
Well, Jamie, I can't write a list these days without including the Black Rune of Damnation, because hot damn, you're giving this unit or this relic to a unit all the time, pretty much. It's giving them that sweet -1 to wound and pearls for psychers on rolls of doubles. So I love the pearls for psychers because it feels very world leadery to have that in the army. And obviously the -1 to wound is an incredibly powerful buff to give to anyone. I mean, I can see places for this rune on the obvious ones are possessed and terminators, right? They're super obvious to make very durable, survivable units, but I can even see this on a big unit of Berserkers or a unit of Chosen. Chosen is one that I'm like, you know what? People not thinking about this on the Black Rune of Damnation, but Chosen is like actually really tough. These 3 wound infantry. Really like it on them. Pretty much like it on everyone, to be honest. Like bikers, all that kind of good stuff. If you want to make one of your god tier characters even more hard to kill, like putting this on a Disco Lord or something, it's crazy mode, So I can see a lot of applications for this relic, and there's just so much power in it. I just can't really see another relic that comes close to competing with it.
I can't disagree with you there. And honestly, my choice was between that and what I ended up picking. But it's so close. It's so incredibly close to have. And just because we're picking one each, I think there's several relics, quite frankly, that are very competitive. And I thoroughly understand why we have only 6 CP to spend now, because if we had 12, every stratagem that can give me a relic and a warlord trait would be maxed out. Like, I would be spending everything as much as possible to just make absolutely absurd characters and units. So the Black Rune is absolutely amazing, and yes, I think that is definitely a starting point for your relics, alongside the Gorget of Eternals something
hatred. I want to say, let's see. The armor one.
Yeah, that one. Probably should have had that ready, but I didn't, because professionalism is not...
Allow me to consult the tome.
It's the Gorget of Eternal Hate.
Yes.
And I did check Google to see if that's the correct way to pronounce it, and apparently he is, although as we discussed a little while
I'm
ago,
going to say the Gorget. The Gorget of Eternal Hate.
Yes. So the Gorget of Eternal Hate is adds 1 to your saving throw of your character, or I believe this one has to go on a character, can't go on a unit champion.
Yeah, I believe so.
So it adds 1 to your armor save, it gives you a 4-up invul, and it makes you explode. And the explosion is when only the first time the bearer is destroyed. I'm assuming there's some chaos stuff that can come back to life, or it's future proofing for something.
Yeah, I believe the Emperor's Children and the Word Bearers have a lot of resurrection potential there.
It's only on the first explosion, but before removing it, you roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 3 inches. On a 2 to 5, they'll suffer d3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, they'll suffer a flat 3. So what you're looking at here is something that makes something quite a lot tougher and wants to get stuck into combat with as many units as possible. A unit that does that very well, in my opinion, is Senor Disco, because already quite a tough unit, eligible for some good Apostles' Prayers and things like that, and fast in a non-breachable way, so can, still move 12 and have a good charge, but given the Disco a 1-up save with Armour of Contempt, and then a 4-up invul, because it only gets a 5-up invul normally, and then the explosion, because of the size of the base and the amount of attacks they have, you can happily go into 2 or 3 squads and attack them, and if they do end up killing you, you're going to explode and pick off a model or 2 as well from multiple units. I think it's just a tremendous amount of both defensive buff and actually offensive as well, giving you more tactical options and creating bad choices for your opponent. Like, if they've just got a squad of 3 combat models, then man, I could kill the Disco, but I'm trading after he's wiped out 300 points in my army. Do I want to give him another 100 points in the explosion or what have you, right? So I think it's just a superb choice. It goes well on a Demon Prince as well, and I'm sure it will work on a Terminator Lord or some other options. But yeah, I think that and the Black Rune are the top 2, or okay, they're both in the S tier for our particular relics. Let's put it like that. So that's my relic, and I don't disagree with your relic choice either, mate. So what about your Warlord trait? Let's see if we disagree here.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of the reincarnation of Flames of Spite, to be honest. Just because I'm a sucker for anything that does mortal wounds in combat. I'm a big fan. And there's a couple of ways you can really push Flames of Spite to be quite effective. So it gives you full wound rerolls, which is really nice, and it gives you single mortal wound on the roll of a 6. Mm-hmm. So this goes really well on characters that are already doing that, right? And especially now that it is a full reroll of wounds, you can fish for 6s if you want. So I can see this, I can see a guy with Gorefather actually being really tasty now, doing 4, because consistency was always the problem with Gorefather, right? Sometimes you skewed so hard on that wound roll and you got 3 6s and you picked up a squad of infantry. Yeah. Now you're getting 4 mortals in your turn. In your opponent's turn, it would be 3 because they're going to choose the order in which things happen. Right. But you sent him in. He's got a Terminator Lord now, so many attacks. Mm-hmm. You send him in with Gorefather, he is picking guys up left, right, and center. You do it with a Master of Executions, he's doing a solid 3 mortals with the Axe of Dismemberment. Yep. Also really good tech choice there. I think you can put this relic on them, for example, or on a Lord Discordant who has so many attacks that you are going to get those 6s in there. Or on a Demon Prince who's coming in there with those 6s as well. It's a really versatile Warlord trait that can... It's essentially effective on pretty much every character we have at our disposal. For me, having the Black Mace on a Dark Apostle with Flames of Spite, man, I'm confident about him going into things, he's going to be picking up for sure. Yeah. So for me, that's a pretty hot Warlord trait.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is certainly one of the best ones from the Chaos Space Marine book. But I have chosen to go from the White Dwarf supplement for mine. I value True Berserker a lot now. previous to the World Eaters rules, I feel like Battle Lust, Violent Urgency, and Disciple of Khorne were kind of the three warlord traits. We would use Flames of Spite and occasionally some of the other ones, excuse me, for, you know, like assassin builds and things like that. Now, and True Berserker sounded cool, but it just wasn't good because it was just in combat only, which wasn't great. Now, halving all damage against ranged and combat. Again, we go back to the disco for me. It just makes them so obnoxious. And because of the, was it PEDMAS or BODMAS, whatever, the order of operations for multiplication or division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, or whatever the hell it is, if you couple True Berserker with the Demon Engine's reduce damage by 1, you halve damage first, and because that's a division, and then you subtract after. So a damage 6 melter, you halve it to 3, and you reduce 1 to 2. Like, or a damage 8 melter, halve it to 4, reduce 1 to 3. That makes your opponent think, oh my god, like, this is horrible. Like, I CP rerolled that 1 damage and got the 6, and it's still only 3 into this Disco Lord, for example. I think True Berserker adds such a great layer of resilience to a already fairly tanky character that it's hard for me to pass up. I do think it really only is going to work on the Disco. Demon Prince to a slightly lesser extent, but I think with a Demon Prince you're probably going the Flames of Spite type route, just to make the damage potential so much higher, because that's what the Demon Prince does. He just, you know, uppercuts something into orbit, whereas the Disco has a slightly different role. So yeah, I think both are always going to be options, and at the moment we can run both. You know, we can stick them on different things, and there's no reason not to if you've got the CP, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like, because I definitely considered the Black Rune for my relic, and I definitely, you know, Flames of Spite is probably, I do like, was it Hatred Incarnate as well? Feels
Hatred
a similar
Incarnate,
role.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the same but different, right? So you get more strength and attacks and reroll hits.
Yeah. So,
it's basically like they're much of a muchness at the end of the day, those ones. Yeah, but I do really like True Berserker. Like, I think it's like you said, it's a lot more like this is for the Disco Lord, and it's gonna basically just be really good on him and okay on everyone else. But man, is it really good on the Disco Lord, you know? And it's like when you're building this like god tier unit that's just gonna go around and be such a big pain. Having a warlord trait like that is really spicy.
Yeah. All right. So that's our kind of favourites right now. And again, you know, if you've watched any of our recent videos, we're not telling you what are the auto picks. We're not telling you what number one stuff is. These are our personal opinions based on the information we have now. You know, limited gameplay, hearing what other people are doing. So this could well change soon. But I think these are all very strong choices. But with all the new stuff out there, you know, the sort of slight changes to the World Eater stuff and then all the new stuff in the CSM, what about like honourable mentions? What's something that you almost picked or you feel, you know, is definitely worthy of consideration?
Yeah, for me, it's probably the Black Mace. I think it's really good. And it's kind of like my second relic that I tend to go to, but just because I really enjoy my Apostles now. And if you're really feeling like splashing out, it combos really nicely with Flames of Spite. Like, you have this absolute like character blender who just kind of goes in. He can go into infantry squads, like that damage is spilling over now. He can go into big, tough, you know, 3-wound heavy infantry like your Gravis or your Custodes or anything like that, and he can pick those guys up too. I just really like him. I think he's got a lot of utility, and for me, that relic turns what is a pretty respectable combat character into one that is just an absolute nightmare once he gets stuck in and starts doing damage.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if you was it Omen of Potency, I think, if you was to take that prayer and you throw on like a Flames of Spite and the Black Mace, you get a really tasty little apostle who's just like let's go.
It's just a
Let's
nuclear
go.
bullet that just
Yeah.
pops out, you know? Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I love that idea of just the apostle kind of, sauntering out, just
yeah,
being like, hey, remember me from 8th edition?
yeah,
Well, I'm back.
yeah. Well, and just in like as a kind of narrative element, like you talked about how the apostle kind of sits behind your red butchers and like they're trundling up the board, and then you open up the pit is the phrase you said. I'm just thinking like your opponent, you've had 2 turns of making the Terminators transhuman to hit, right? And your opponent's just, oh god, he's going to do it again, and then you're like, okay, in my command phase, Omen of Potency on the apostle.
Hell yeah. Hell
yeah.
yeah.
What does that do? I say, this guy is about to delete that unit, and it's like, let's go, let's do this. I just like those little things you can do, the versatility, and just it's. I mean, I got to say the Black Mace is something I really like as well. That the spilling damage is so powerful, so
100%,
good because of that reason you said. Makes him good into everything, and if you coupled it with Flames of Spite, it's almost like 4 mortal wounds, really, just because of the spilling, and you get the AP4, I think, from Omen of Potency. So yeah, you're going into 3 Eradicators, say. You're probably picking up the squad, quite frankly.
Oh yeah, I would say so. Just with the volume of attacks and like
you can probably pick up 4 because the damage spills, and then you do the mortal wounds after, and if you've got enough mortal wounds on the 6s to wound and stuff. You're just doing great. You're doing great into 20 or 30 conscripts. Like, you
I really want to see him. I want to see him go into like that vibe, like 20 guardsmen. Just him like one-shotting all, like bowling pins. He just lines them up.
It's one of the Horus Heresy books. I think it's one of the Ultramarines ones, and it's got Gilliman, and he's in space. And like he's in the sort of like punch pose, and there's like word bearers or whatever.
Yeah,
just flying
no
off.
Fear, I believe, is the one. Yeah,
that's what I imagine the apostle is just like, and there's like 20 fucking dudes just flying out like,
there is a piece of art. I think it's a word bearer's apostle, and he does have this massive mace, and he's just swinging down. That's it for me. It's just like actually, you know what it is? It's the cover of Betrayer. Because Lorgar is like swinging in with his mace,
of course,
Yeah. It's like that vibe where he's just picking up and like. So I'm gonna let you all in on a little secret right now. I'm currently building Delvaris, like the model. We're gonna have a video on that pretty soon. But yeah, so what I'm gonna be running as my second apostle will actually be Delvaris. So the Black Mace is actually gonna be his meteor hammer. Which I'm like, all right, that's kind of sick to me. He just comes in and he's like, yeah, man, you're done. This party is over for you.
He just put his earbuds in, and he's got some good heavy metal going on. Here we go, boys. Just
for sure.
I
so I just think it's really cool. Do you have any honorable mentions, relics, or warlord traits?
No, because I don't want to sort of like detract from that, because the Black Mace was honestly what I was going for as well. Like, it is another one I keep thinking, do I put it in? I do like pretty much everything. I have run the okay, let's do this, the mantle. I can't remember what it is.
Mantle of Traders.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one.
Got it here. So I did run this. It's very good because it gives you a free epic deed stratagem, which is nice because there's a couple of 2CP epic deeds. It lets you reroll hits in the fight phase, which is nice because I put this on an apostle to get the free auto cast prayer, which is a 2CP strat, and it's a bit of a mind game play. You don't cast your prayer in your command phase because you want to because I previously swapped out for Litany of Despair for the fight last. So I'm like, okay, I need to guarantee fight last because I'm doing a multi-charge, and it worked out for me last night. I do think I'm actually dropping the mantle though, just because even though it's 1 CP to get a free 2 CP, it just locked me into being in a certain part of the board longer than I wanted to be. But
I definitely think it like forces you to play around the fact that you want to use that stratagem at some point, right?
Yeah.
Where I think I can see that being really useful is if you have an apostle that's inside a Dreadclaw or inside a Termite Drill. The one that really sticks out to me in that situation is you got you got a Dreadclaw full of like say Chain Cannon Havocs or whatever, and they drop in, and he does the shooting one. I can't remember exactly what the shooting part is.
Is it
It might
Solterra?
be no, Solitaire is the combat one.
Okay.
I think it gives them +1 to hit. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure. So you have them pop down, and he kind of comes in, and he's like, "Cool, I pop that now. Let me see what it does." Warp Sight Plea.
Yeah.
So you pick a core, cultist, or character within 6, and each time a model makes a ranged attack, reroll a hit roll of 1, and the target does not receive the benefits of cover.
Yeah, that's what
So I can see that being pretty good of him popping out of a transport and just being like, "Hey, Havocs, go, go, go."
Yeah.
Is that worth, like, is the play worth it to do that? Probably not. I don't think so. I think this probably like has more play in like other legions that can benefit more from it, you know,
Word
because
Bearers, I think, being
yeah.
I think the only legion that can really truly max out the apostle, which is appropriate, but because I think they can do the second prayer in a turn and things like that.
Yeah, they
So,
can, I believe.
I think they probably build the best apostle. But the mantle is, you know, and there's going to be more play. I did read through what all the epic deed strats were, but I wanted it for the autocast just to make sure I got it, because you know you'll always fail a 2-up when you really don't need to fail a 2-up, right? So that was it for me. The others, like the Blade of the Relentless, I think it's not bad. I don't think it compares to the Black Mace, but it's not bad. Because
I just think it's cool that it's Cranon's sword, you know. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's kind of cool that they brought that thing back
Yeah.
from Dark Vengeance, you know. But yeah, I don't think it really compares to the
yeah.
Black Mace at all.
The Inferno Tome isn't bad. I think its strength is not in the additional prayer, because I don't think that really matters so much with access to the crown for me. But the D3 mortal wounds that isn't psychic, in a world with Gazgul, with the shards, with Abaddon,
Yeah.
having access to slightly more damage out of combat and shooting phase. We do obviously get it with the jump pack units now in the charge phase, but just having a little bit of extra mortal wound output isn't bad. Again, it's very situational. Your opponent's like, okay, so you can shoot me and fight me for 3 damage, and that's your only guy who's reliably putting any more damage. I'm just going to stay away from him. And
Yeah,
it just, you know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's one of those ones where I'm like, in a world where I was still running with 12 CP, yeah, I'd take this, but I'm not right now, so
Exactly.
I'm just not probably going to put that in for now. Again, you can probably make it work if you wanted to, but I want my CP for other things, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that really covers all of it, because
Yeah, I think so.
the Warlord traits, there's 2 or 3 that are solid. Relics, again, probably 3 or 4 that are solid, because the World Eaters relics still aren't bad. I know we've talked about the Apostles one, the
Banner of Rage for extra attacks when you're around them. I like that one.
Yeah.
Especially because I think the way the Apostle is changing in terms of where you're playing him, it's interesting. But again, I think I'd just rather have the Black Mace or something on him. You know, it's a tough one. But yeah, there's lots of interesting choices. I would say overall, the Warlord traits to me stand out as being less powerful in general.
The relics are where it's at.
Yeah, I think some of the legions in the book have some really nice Warlord traits, but we don't, unfortunately.
And you know, we don't, but the other legions aren't getting a codex anytime soon. They're stuck with this for probably, 2 to 4 years. We
take that, other legions.
Yeah. You can
so
be the top of the pile for right now, because we're coming. We're coming. Oh boy, are we coming.
So I think that about covers it for this one. As always, everyone, join the Discord, hop in, be part of the conversation. We're all coming up with ideas. And thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hope it was a fun one. Let us know what you think down below, if there's any relic or warlord trait combo that you've come up with that you think we've missed out on. But yeah, I think that will be it from me and Jamie for this one. So until next time, everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main burn.